About 1:15, you'll arrive in Oklahoma City about...
Okay, thank
you.
I'm going to shop all day.
Yukon. Then our next stop will be in Oklahoma City. From Oklahoma City, we'll go to Moore, and then to Norman, and then we'll stop there for a little while, and then we'll turn around and we'll pick up passengers on the way back into Oklahoma City, and then back to Reno to the Rock Island Depot.
So I can get the train, catch the train back on the interurban at 4 o'clock?
At 4 o'clock in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And we'll bring you right back to here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Here we go. May I have your suitcase,
sure.
please?
Thank you.
Here we go.
On the trolley, headed back toward Reno, Oklahoma, traveling approximately 25 or 30 miles an hour. Talks about 35 minutes from Yukon to Reno. Powered by electricity from the overhead lines. Got whistles and bells from exploded the crossings. Lots of people use this as transportation from Oklahoma City to Reno and back, or go from Reno to Oklahoma City to do some of their shopping in the big stores, and get the trolley on the late evening shift and come back to Reno. At reasonable cost.
You know, this right here is a 1926 grill, and found up in a field up in Ohio. It's been restored back like it was originally. This thing is powered by a 454 Chevrolet engine with propane. It's got an automatic truck transmission. Downtown through our area down here, we travel about 6 or 8 miles an hour. Sometimes coming back into the barn, why we can get up to about 18 to 20 miles an hour. This right here is the only rail-based trolley in the state of right here. Was built with the help that they would take care of our drainage system in Reno if we'd have a transportation system. So we ended up with this trolley right here, and the museum itself took over the operations and running of it, and they have paid for it and everything. The trolley itself is strictly run by volunteers. A lot of the old-time railroaders that have retired love the old trolley. We have a big time parade 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday, and it operates at 10, 12:30, 2 and 4 on weekdays, and then on Saturdays and Sundays. And it costs adults $3, and senior citizens and kids under a certain age, it's $1.50. And we hope everybody comes back and has a nice time on our trolley and kind of get a little bit of the history of Reno. As we go down through town, we describe some of the old buildings and give their dates and what they were used for at that time. And it's about 1.5 miles, I guess it is, or 1.25 miles from the time we leave here till we get back. And if you noticed a while ago, whenever we come in, we head one way and we come back and we can turn our seats around. Because we don't have a turnaround table here. Okay. Now our trolley is wheelchair accessible. We have a lift over here on this side right here, and we can put up to 2 wheelchairs here and there at a time. But a lot of times it's just people that can't get up and down the stairs, and it really comes in handy for the older people. A lot of people think they can't ride our trolley because they can't come up and down. Here is from the past, but we also have air conditioning and heating in it. Our overhead air conditioning and everything is mounted at the top, and we also have a heater right down here at the bottom.
This trolley here is powered by a 454 Chevrolet engine, and it's up to a truck Allison automatic transmission. And it's designed to be operated from either end. It has air conditioning on the top. It has a generator on the bottom here that runs the air conditioners as well as our heating system. The brake system is very similar that's on the big trucks you see on the highway. It's the way that the brakes operate on it. Got truck rear ends with steel wheels instead of rubber tires. Manufactured in Iowa, and the cost was $253,000 for this 27 model car. It seemed like that's a little expensive, but if you look back in the old days and come and ride something like this, it'll make you think of the old days, especially on the rail, because the railroads is about gone. And its paint job on this was put on. The window system on it open and close. It has the bells, the whistles, very similar to the days it was operating.
You want to start first? Okay. All of our people that work here on the trolley and down here at the museum are volunteers. Chet and I are old railroaders. I spent most of our life working on the railroad. When the trolley came in, we decided this right here was a good day to kind of get back to just a little bit of the railroad time. Probably the trolley itself is fairly easy to operate. It just it takes Chet to kind of teach you how to operate it, but it runs real smooth and it's really nice. We have ridden it, the old trolleys, when they used to run between here and Oklahoma City. This right here is not the only trolley that used to run up and down the streets in El Reno. El Reno had its own streetcar system for several years, from about 1900 till about 1920 or 1909, I believe it was. The brick, whenever the trolley came in, they had when the trolley itself came in, they put the track down. Now that's whenever the brick was put down in El Reno, and that was in 1909. In fact, if looking here straight ahead, the old trolley used to run right up and down this street. In fact, it ran into some of the residential area in the early days. Even downtown, even the side street, the old streetcar ran. They kind of had a time, kind of like we did whenever the railroad was started. They run into all sorts of problems and rains and stuff, and they used to call it the frog pond uptown whenever it would rain. Kind of like it was here whenever we were putting our trolley down. They had our streets all tore up, and the people complained then like they complained when they put it in here. But being it's in here, it's really nice, and I've really enjoyed volunteering on this. We've been in, trolley's been going here in town about almost 5 years now.
If you're interested in railroading or interested in the trolley system and would be interested in coming down and maybe trying out to be a volunteer driver or a volunteer narrator, which makes the trip a lot more interesting to people visiting El Reno. And if you're interested, we'll come down and see the people at the museum, and we'll try to work you in.
Welcome to the Heritage Express Trolley. This right here is a 1924 Brill. Whenever we got ready to put a trolley here in El Reno, the guys got to looking and they found this up in Iowa, and they took it into a place that does rebuilds trolleys, and it cost $225,000 to put this trolley like it is now. Now, if we kind of go down through town, right now, as we're going down through here, this is where they had the run of 89. This is the 98th Meridian, and whenever they had the run of 89, it took care of the Indian lands from this point right here back to the east. Then they had a run of 1892, and it took care of the lands from right here back to the west. Of course, we all know how the runs went back in those days. They had a lot of claim jumping and killing people and so on and so forth for their claim. And so in 1901, they had a land drawing here in El Reno. They had a couple of weeks. Here we go. Got straight going by. They had a land drawing here in 1901, and there was 400,000 acres that was going to be given away. So, but everybody had to come to El Reno to register. And it was about 2 weeks in the latter part of July and the first part of September. 2 weeks, the latter part of August and first part of September. There was 400,000 people came into El Reno to register. So you can imagine what that did to that small town of about 5,000 people. People stayed in your front yard, your backyard, and a barn, and whatever you had there, and even they kind of camped out in the streets, even back to the North and South Canadian River. But when it was all over with, why, there was 9,000 people ended up, 13,000 people ended up with 90 acres of land. Worked out real good. In fact, they had a special place for the ladies to register back then because there were so many people. They had lines like A, B, C, D, whatever your name started with, and they made it easy for the ladies, so they had a special place where they could rent. But anyway, it turned out real good, and they said everything was real peaceful and everything. Now, if we kind of go down through town here, over here on my left is the El Reno High School, built in 1911. That is, the west half of it was built in 1911. If you'll notice as we go by there, there's a drain that comes off of the roof, and that's the dividing point between the east and west half of the building. So in 1921, they had a bond issue here in El Reno, and they raised a little over $200,000 to build onto the high school and give the kids a swimming pool. So they just got their money put in the bank and got started, and the bank went under. They lost all their money, so about 1925, they had another bond issue and built onto the school, except the kids didn't get a swimming pool. Basically, the old building is just like it was when it was originally built, except they've got thermal windows and air conditioning in it. Back when I was in high school, the only air conditioning had was kind of like an old fan, paper fan that you made, and the teachers would open up the windows. Now, as we go down through town here, over here on the right, the Sand Beach building, built in 1901. It was a grocery store, and the ladies could go in there and buy their needles and threads and pots and pans. It was also El Reno's first library. It was a library from about 1902 until about 1905. Mr. Carnegie came to town, and they asked him if they would build on their library, and they said, well, sure. He said, all you have to do is take care of it. So at that time, the librarian, I think, made about $25 a month. Now over here on your right is the Anheuser-Busch building, built in 1901. Mr. Goff was the manager of the Anheuser-Busch brewery for a while, and he was also had a golf brewery here in El Reno. Most of the buildings that you see around here on the right were built in the early 1900s. The buildings over here on our left, they were probably built around 1893 or 94. Down here on the corner on the right is the Babcock building. It was built in 1893. The man that built that was Oklahoma's first lieutenant governor. As we cross the interstate,